Hello! Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Mike, this is M. We're M and Mike. We're gonna read the next couple of chapters in the Count of Monte Cristo. We've gotten up to chapter 4. We just finished 4 a couple days ago, and
Yep.
we're going into chapter 5.
Yes.
A couple of notes. First of all, you might hear some background noise while we're reading. We have a really high quality microphone here. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? And we also have next to it, it's out of frame. You can't see it. It's a 3D printer. It's printing parts for basically visors or face protectors for the local hospital.
She's saving the world. Basically.
Yeah, our printer is saving the world. So apologies for the background noise. That's what's going on there.
That's Penelope.
Her name's Penelope, our 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
And without further ado, I think we're going right in. What just happened? I
don't know. Can we scroll up for a second?
Okay, at the end of chapter 4, I think it was the
right.
plot,
It
the
was
conspiracy.
Right. Danglars was like, hey, I'm gonna get, Dantes thrown in jail.
For treason.
Right, and then Fernand can marry
Mercedes.
And then Danglars can get, I
don't know what his angle is.
He's just gonna,
maybe he becomes captain of the ship.
have, a wank fest. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really unclear
He's
what
just really
his plan
gonna
is.
enjoy.
Right, and Caderousse, I really don't know what his motivation is.
Caderousse, I think he's like, I like Dantes, but, you guys do whatever.
Do whatever. I mean, he was also half in the bag, so who knows. All right, this is chapter 5. We're going in. We're going in hot. I'll rock, paper, scissors you for the first couple of paragraphs.
Whoever wins gets it?
Whoever wins gets to read the first couple of paragraphs. It's just one straight. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you changed it the last second.
I did. You're right. My fingers got caught. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you win. All right.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. Chapter 5, The Marriage Feast. The morning sun rose clear and resplendent, touching the foamy waves into a network of ruby-tinted light. The feast had been made ready on the second floor at La Réserve, with whose arbor the reader is already familiar. What, do we know?
Yeah, I think
arbor?
the arbor was where they most recently met. Everyone, I think the arbor was where, Caderousse, Danglars, and Fernand were, hanging around drinking, and then the two lovers, Dantes and Mercedes, show up, and that's where they had their, meeting.
Right. That's a weird way of saying it. It's and they're at this place, which you already know about.
Well, I think the part of the reason is because this was originally part of a series that was, published periodically in, a magazine or something. So it's remember this from last time?
Right, it's kind of like a recap.
It's a recap, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Last time on The Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay. The apartment destined for the purpose was spacious and lighted by a number of windows, over each of which was written in golden letters, for some inexplicable reason, the name of one of the principal cities of France. Beneath these windows, a wooden balcony extended the entire length of the house. And although the entertainment was fixed for 12 o'clock, an hour previous to that time, the balcony was filled with impatient and expectant guests, consisting of the favored part of the crew of the Pharaon, and other personal friends of the bridegroom, the whole of whom had arrayed themselves in their choicest costumes in order to do greater honor to the occasion. Various rumors were afloat to the effect that the owners of the Pharaon had promised to attend the nuptial feast, but all seemed unanimous in doubting that an act of such rare and exceeding condescension could possibly be intended.
And by condescension here, it means them coming down from on high to attend this lowly wedding. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Danglars, however, who now made his appearance, accompanied by Caderousse, I imagine them arm in arm, just entering.
In their Sunday best, their frilly best.
Yeah, in their frilly best. Accompanied by Caderousse, effectually confirmed the report, stating that he had recently conversed with Monsieur Morel, who had himself assured him of his intention to dine at La Réserve.
Okay. In fact, a moment later, Monsieur Morel appeared and was saluted with an enthusiastic burst of applause from the crew of the Pharaon, who hailed the visit of the ship owner as a sure indication that the man whose wedding feast he thus delighted to honor would ere long be first in command of the ship. And as Dantes was universally beloved on board his vessel, the sailors put no restraint on their tumultuous joy at finding that the opinion and choice of their superiors so exactly coincided with their own. So it's a pretty strong endorsement. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, Dantes, he's the best, and you also think he's the best. Yeah, we're on the same team. With the entrance of Monsieur Morel, Danglars and Caderousse were dispatched in search of the bridegroom to convey to him the intelligence of the arrival of the important personage whose coming had created such a lively sensation, and to beseech him to make haste. Yeah, I guess you don't really want to delay. Danglars and Caderousse set off upon their errand at full speed. But ere they had gone many steps, they perceived a group advancing towards them, composed of the betrothed pair, a party of young girls in attendance on the bride, by whose side walked Dantès' father, the whole brought up by Fernand, whose lips were their usual sinister smile. Huh. Okay, so they found him.
Yeah.
But it's a whole, like, convoy. And Fernand, whose lips were their usual sinister smile, like...
I guess.
Sinister smile. Give me your best sinister smile. Very good.
Like a sneer.
Sneer. All right. I'll take one more. Neither Mercedes nor Edmund observed the strange expression of his countenance. They were so happy that they were conscious only of the sunshine and the presence of each other.
Now, I would say that that's got to be BS. Mercedes would for sure be worrying that Fernand would screw up her special day, I think, or like her wedding day.
Yeah, he's the one who's going to shout, "I object."
Yeah, you think that she'd be telling someone, like, I don't know,
keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Keep him busy.
I don't believe that she's so in love that she wouldn't worry about that. Okay. Having acquitted themselves of their errand and exchanged a hearty shake of the hand with Edmund, Danglars and Caderousse took their places beside Fernand and old Dantès, the latter of whom attracted universal notice. The old man was attired in a suit of glistening watered silk, trimmed with steel buttons, beautifully cut and polished. His thin but wiry legs were arrayed in a pair of richly embroidered clocked stockings, evidently of English manufacture, while from his three-cornered hat depended a long streaming knot of white and blue ribbons. This is like nice detail here.
Yeah.
Thus he came along, supporting himself on a curiously carved stick, his aged countenance lit up with happiness, looking for all the world like one of the aged dandies of 1796, parading the newly opened gardens of the Luxembourg and Tuileries. Beside him glided Caderousse, whose desire to partake of the good things provided for the wedding party... whose desire to partake of the good things provided for the wedding party had induced him to become reconciled to the Dantès father and son. What?
Like the Dantesses?
Yeah, it's got to be to the Dantesses, father and son. Although there still lingered in his mind a faint and unperfect recollection of the events of the preceding night, just as the brain retains on waking in the morning the dim and misty outline of a dream.
Like, weren't we talking about ruining this guy's life? I feel like something, treason.
Also, these sentences are really long.
Yeah, they're very elaborate, Baroque.
It's hard to anticipate.
Yeah.
Wait, what's happening?
So who do we have here? We've got, this
By
is old
her
man
side
Dantès.
Walked Dantès'
Father. Yeah, so this
Well,
is
he
old
looks
man Dantès.
nice.
He looks pretty stately.
Yeah.
It's a big triangle hat or something.
Look at Dantès' hat and his hair.
Yeah, he's got this nice little curl
really
up on
puffing
either
out.
side. Yeah, he's got like kind of like a side fro happening.
It's almost like Will from drama school.
Mm-hmm. Someone went to school with. And then over here, this is a nice dress. It's kind of like a two-stroke wraparound.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd call that.
It's almost like a ballet top. I can't describe it either.
Looks like kind of like a sari, like
a little bit at the top.
Mm-hmm. And then she's got something in her hair, probably flowers or maybe jewelry or something.
Everyone's got pointy shoes.
Pointed shoes. Everyone's ready to like dance a jig at the reception.
Yeah.
All right.
As Danglars approached the disappointed lover, he cast on him a look of deep meaning, while Fernand, as he slowly paced behind the happy pair, who seemed, in their own unmixed content, to have entirely forgotten that such a being as himself existed, was pale and abstracted. Occasionally, however, a deep flush would overspread his countenance, and a nervous contraction distort his features, while, with an agitated and restless gaze, he would glance in the direction of Marseille, like one who either anticipated or foresaw some great and important event. hilarious.
I don't think this wedding's gonna go smoothly. We'll see.
I think Dantes is gonna get, yeah. Dantes himself was simply, but becomingly, clad in the dress peculiar to the merchant service, a costume somewhat between a military and a civil garb, and with his fine countenance, radiant with joy and happiness, a more perfect specimen of manly beauty could scarcely be imagined. I love it.
The guy was just rocking it.
Manly beauty.
Yeah, he was just like, his threads were out of this world.
Yeah, big pimpin'. Lovely as the Greek girls of Cyprus or Chios,
Sure.
Mercedes boasted the same bright flashing eyes of jet and ripe, round coral lips. She moved with the light, free step of an
Arlesian?
Arlesian, or an Andalusian. One more practiced in the arts of great cities would have hid their... One more practiced in the arts of great cities would have hid her blushes beneath a veil, or at least have cast down her thickly fringed lashes, so as to have concealed the liquid luster of her animated eyes. But on the contrary, the delighted girl looked around her with a smile that seemed to say, "If you are my friends, rejoice with me, for I am very happy."
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah. Tell you.
Okay. As soon as the bridal party came in sight of La Réserve, Monsieur Morel descended and came forth to meet it, followed by the soldiers and sailors there assembled, to whom he had repeated the promise already given that Dantes should be the successor to the late Captain Leclerc. I gotta say, though, that's kind of, cool, but, like, they're getting married. Like, you don't need your boss showing up and being like, don't forget, you're getting a promotion, too.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of stealing the thunder, or you're what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the point. Today's about a wedding, but okay.
Yeah, don't talk shop.
Don't talk shop right now. We're getting married. Edmund, at the approach of his patron, respectfully placed the arm of his affianced bride within that of Monsieur Morel, who, forthwith conducting her up the flight of wooden steps leading to the chamber in which the feast was prepared, was gaily followed by the guests, beneath whose heavy tread the slight structure creaked and groaned for the space of several minutes. "Father," said Mercedes... what were we doing for Mercedes again? Father, said Mercedes, stopping when she had reached the center of the table. "Sit, I pray you, on my right hand. On my left I will place him who has ever been as a brother to me," pointing with a soft and gentle smile to Fernand. Ooh,
another
really
nail in the coffin.
Putting him in his place. But her words and looks seemed to inflict the direst torture on him. He's like, ugh, dead. For his lips became ghastly pale, and even beneath the dark hue of his complexion, the blood might be seen retreating as though some sudden pang drove it back to the heart. During this time, Dantes, at the opposite side of the table, had been occupied in similarly placing his most honored guests.
That's so they can play footsies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very good, yes. It's very difficult to play footsies side by side, directly across his optimal sort of footsie arrangement. Monsieur Morel was seated at his right hand, Danglars at his left. Is it Danglars or Danglars? I keep using them interchangeably. Danglars, thank you. Danglars at his left, while at a sign from Edmund, the rest of the company ranged themselves as they found it most agreeable. It's like just a bunch of crew from the ship. Just like, I'll sit over here. No name tags. This looks like a fine... I'll sit next to the mother of the bride, whatever, you know.
Sit where you want.
Then they began to pass around the dusky, piquant Arlesian sausages and lobsters and their dazzling red cuirasses. Cuirasses. Prawns of large size and brilliant color. The echinus, with its prickly outside and dainty morsel within. The clovis, esteemed by the epicures of the South as more than rivaling the exquisite flavor of the oyster, North. The oyster... qualification north. What?
I don't know.
All right. All the delicacies, in fact, that are cast up by the wash of waters on the sandy beach and styled by the grateful fishermen fruits of the sea. I don't know. I liked how it was described before, and then this sentence here was like, the stuff that just kind of washes up on the beach.
Yeah. And the grateful fishermen are like,
I can eat that. That's edible. Okay, old father of the bridegroom. So this is old Monsieur Dantes.
Mm-hmm.
"A pretty silence, truly," said the old father of the bridegroom as he carried to his lips a glass of wine of the hue and brightness of the topaz. Oh yeah, Dumbledore, in which had just been placed before Mercedes himself. "Now, would anybody think that this room contained a happy, merry party who desire nothing better than to laugh and dance the hours away. Sighed Caderousse. A man cannot always feel happy because he is about to be married. What?
I think he's slamming marriage.
A man cannot always feel happy because he is about to be married. Okay. The truth is, replied Dantes, that I am too happy for noisy mirth. If that is what you meant by your observation, my worthy friend, you are right. Joy takes a strange effect at times. It seems to oppress us almost the same as sorrow. Wow, good save. Danglars looked towards Fernand, whose excitable nature received and betrayed each fresh impression. Why, what ails you? Asked he of is this Danglars? I think it's Danglars. Why, what ails you? Asked he of Edmond. Do you fear any approaching evil? I should say that you were the happiest man alive at this instant. And that is the very thing that alarms me, returned Dantes. Man does not appear to me to be intended to enjoy felicity so unmixed. Happiness is like the enchanted palaces we read of in our childhood, where fierce, fiery dragons defend the entrance and approach, and monsters of all shapes and kinds requiring to be overcome ere victory is ours. I own that I am lost in wonder to find myself promoted to an honor of which I feel myself unworthy, that of being the husband of Mercedes.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. Nay, nay, cried Caderousse, smiling. You have not attained that honor yet. Mercedes is not your wife. Just assume the tone and manner of a husband and see how she will remind you that your hour is not yet come. What? Did he just say that the wedding didn't happen?
No.
Oh, because they haven't, consummated the wedding yet?
I think so.
Oh, they haven't consummated the marriage. Okay, so it's a dirty joke.
That's
Got
awkward.
it. Yeah, that is awkward. Is he, being the best man, the sort of, trashy best man who's
guess.
like, hey, let me tell you about this one time that my buddy Edmund here had a bender. Yeah, all right. Cool. Why don't you take it from here?
The bride blushed, while Fernand, restless and uneasy, seemed to start at every fresh sound, and from time to time wiped away the large drops of perspiration that gathered on his brow. He's just like...
I think this is Edmund.
Was it? Okay. Well, never mind that, neighbor Caderousse. It is not worthwhile to contradict me for such a trifle as that. 'Tis true that Mercedes is not actually my wife, but, added he, drawing out his watch, in an hour and a half she will be.
This is
awkward.
Awkward
That's
dinner
like
time
when
conversation.
Like
Are her parents there?
It's like when the groom goes under the bride's skirt at the wedding and takes off the thing with his teeth.
Yeah,
it's
it's sort of weird.
I just don't. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
It's just weird, man.
Are there kids at this wedding? Okay.
A general exclamation of surprise ran round the table, with the exception of the elder Dantes, whose laugh displayed the still perfect beauty of his large white teeth. Mercedes looked pleased and gratified. She's like, mm-hmm.
Okay.
While Fernand grasped the handle of his knife with a convulsive clutch.
He just reaches for his weapon.
Oh my god. In an hour? Inquired Danglars, turning pale. How is that, my friend? Why, thus it is, replied Dantes. Thanks to the influence of Monsieur Morel, to whom, next to my father, I owe every blessing I enjoy, every difficulty has been removed. We have purchased permission to waive the usual delay.
Oh, they aren't actually married yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it wasn't
Why
a dirty
do they
joke.
delay?
I don't know. Maybe there's a bunch of bureaucratic stuff they have to go through.
Between when you're fiancé and when you're actually married?
Maybe, yeah.
And at 2:30, the mayor of Marseille will be waiting for us at the city hall.
Okay.
Now, as 1:15 has already struck, I do not consider I have asserted too much in saying that in another hour and 30 minutes, Mercedes will have become Madame Dantes.
So that's actually putting some pressure here. If they're gonna get him boxed in with treason, they have an hour and a half.
They gotta work.
Yeah.
That's a nice photo.
Yeah. So what do we
Although
have here?
it kind of looks like
She's
old man Dantes is just in the bosom of Mercedes.
Yeah, just nuzzled in her cleavage. Also, this is a really small table. like for a sort of a wedding reception party.
It is a little
it seems
small.
like it's pretty crowded in there, pretty packed in there. Is this Fernand? Because that guy is like giving a death glare.
Stank eye.
This is like he's in shadow. I think he's always been in shadow
Yeah,
in the photos.
he's just a sketch.
Pretty
man.
sketchy guy. Why was he invited again? I guess
Don't
he's
know.
her brother or something. Cousin.
Literal cousin.
Yeah.
Fernand closed his eyes. A burning sensation passed across his brow, and he was compelled to support himself by the table to prevent his falling from his chair. Dude, take a nap.
Yeah, or like just relax. You're gonna have an aneurysm.
But in spite of all his efforts, he could not refrain from uttering a deep groan, which, however, was lost amid the noisy felicitations of the company. "Upon my word," cried the old man, "you make short work of this kind of affair. Arrived here only yesterday morning, and married today at 3 o'clock. Commend me to a sailor for going the quick way to work." That's all you.
Okay. But asked Danglars in a timid tone, "How did you manage about the other formalities? The contract, the settlement?" The contract, answered Dantes laughingly. "It didn't take long to fix that. Mercedes has no fortune. I have none to settle on her. So, you see, our papers were quickly written out, and certainly do not come very expensive." This joke elicited a fresh burst of applause. I don't get the joke. I guess he's saying we're both poor, so it's all good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. "So that what we presumed to be merely the betrothal feast turns out to be the actual wedding dinner?" said Danglars. No, answered Dantes. "Don't imagine I am going to put you off in that shabby manner. Tomorrow morning I start for Paris, 4 days to go and the same to return, with 1 day to discharge the commission entrusted to me, is all the time I shall be absent. I shall be back here by the 1st of March, and on the 2nd I give my real marriage feast." Okay, so it's like, boom, get married, get on that boat, Paris, back, and then big celebration.
And then the reception.
Okay. It's a little unusual, but,
He's a working man.
He's a working man. He's got to balance, like, the home work-life balance. This prospect of fresh festivity redoubled the hilarity of the guests to such a degree that the elder Dantes, who, at the commencement of the repast, had commented upon the silence that prevailed, now found it difficult, amid the general din of voices, to obtain a moment's tranquillity in which to drink to the health and prosperity of the bride and bridegroom. Dantes, perceiving the affectionate eagerness of his father, responded by a look of grateful pleasure, while Mercedes glanced at the clock and made an expressive gesture to Edmund, like,
Let's go.
It's go time. Around the table reigned that noisy hilarity which usually prevails at such a time among people sufficiently free from the demands of social position not to feel the trammels of etiquette. What? So, everyone was kind of being sloppy. Such as at the commencement of the repast had not been able to seat themselves according to their inclination, rose unceremoniously and sought out more agreeable companions. Everybody talked at once, without waiting for a reply, and each one seemed to be contented with expressing his or her own thoughts. Okay.
Oh, that free from the demands of social position.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of saying you're very low class.
Yeah, the commoners were having a party, below stairs.
Yeah.
Fernand's paleness appeared to have communicated itself to Danglars. As for Fernand himself, he seemed to be enduring the tortures of the damned. Unable to rest, he was among the first to quit the table, and, as though seeking to avoid the hilarious mirth that rose in such deafening sounds, he continued, in utter silence, to pace the farther end of the salon. Wow, what a party animal.
Yeah.
Caderousse approached him just as Danglars, whom Fernand seemed most anxious to avoid, had joined him in the corner of the room. "Upon my word," said Caderousse, from whose mind the friendly treatment of Dantes, united with the effect of the excellent wine he had partaken of, had effaced every feeling of envy or jealousy at Dantes's good fortune. "Upon my word, Dantes is a downright good fellow, and when I see him sitting there beside his pretty wife that is soon to be, I cannot help thinking it would have been a great pity to have served him that trick you were planning yesterday." Oh, there was no harm meant, answered Danglars. At first, I certainly did feel somewhat uneasy as to what Fernand might be tempted to do, but when I saw how completely he had mastered his feelings, even so far as to become one of his rival's attendants, I knew there was no further cause for apprehension. Caderousse looked full at Fernand. He was ghastly pale.
He's like slumped in his seat. Just
Yeah, he really held it together. Certainly, continued Danglars. The sacrifice was no trifling one when the beauty of the bride is concerned. Upon my soul, that future captain of mine is a lucky dog. Gad, I only wish he would let me take his place. Shall we not set forth? Asked the sweet, silvery voice of Mercedes. 2 o'clock has just struck, and you know we are expected in a quarter of an hour.
And my cousin may do something really stupid.
Really rash. What's going on here? It looks like someone's busting in with a hat. We're going to find out what this is all about.
Yeah, it's to come.
Oh, you think they mailed the letter and, like, this might be the police.
Oh, shit.
I wonder if this is like the local constabulary has come to descend upon a treasonous plot or a treasonous local. Let's find out. Why don't you take over?
To be sure, cried Dantes, eagerly quitting the table. Let us go directly. His words were re-echoed by the whole party with vociferous cheers. At this moment, Danglars, who had been incessantly observing every change in Fernand's look and manner, saw him stagger and fall back, with an almost convulsive spasm, against a seat placed near one of the open windows. At the same instant, his ear caught a sort of indistinct sound on the stairs, followed by the measured tread of soldiery. Here you go.
Yeah.
With the clanking of swords and military accoutrement. Then came so Mercedes, like, if anyone had listened to Mercedes, they would have been out of there.
Yeah.
Then came a hum and buzz as of many voices, so as to deaden even the noisy mirth of the bridal party, among whom a vague feeling of curiosity and apprehension quelled every disposition to talk, and almost instantaneously the most death-like stillness prevailed.
The fuzz are here.
The sounds drew nearer. 3 blows were struck upon the panel of the door. Penelope. The company looked at each other in consternation. I demand admittance, said a loud voice outside the room, in the name of the law. As no attempt was made to prevent it, the door was open.
The door was unlocked.
The door was unlocked the whole time.
Let me in. Oh, it's unlocked.
Okay, just come in.
I
just let myself in then, I guess.
I didn't mean to yell. I didn't want to freak anyone out.
I should not have broken the door down. Turned out
it was a push, not a pull.
The door was opened, and a magistrate wearing his official scarf, aka Itzabaka, presented himself, followed by 4 soldiers and a corporal. Uneasiness now yielded to the most extreme dread on the part of those present. What was the voice
Monsieur
of
Morel is an older man. It was like, think Cogsworth, but old. Or not Cogsworth, Lumiere, but old.
Okay. May I venture to inquire the reason of this unexpected visit? Said Monsieur Morel, addressing the magistrate, whom he evidently knew. There is doubtless some mistake, easily explained. If it be so, replied the magistrate, rely upon every reparation being made. Meanwhile, I am the bearer of an order of arrest, and although I most reluctantly perform the task assigned to me, it must nevertheless be fulfilled. Who among the persons here assembled answers to the name of Edmond Dantes?
You imagine that room at that moment? Like, everyone's like,
yeah.
Someone's like got like a piece of chicken halfway to their mouth or something.
Yeah. This is when you find out how many other people have outstanding arrests.
Yeah.
And you're like, do I need his book?
It's just like kind of like fade into the walls a little.
Creeping out. Every eye was turned towards the young man who, spite of the agitation he could not but feel.
In spite?
I think there's an in. It's gotta be. Advanced with dignity and said in a firm voice, I am he. What is your pleasure with me?
Ooh. Like, you know, they just said they're here to arrest you. You know what's coming.
Yeah. Edmond Dantes, replied the magistrate. I arrest you in the name of the law. Me? repeated Edmund, slightly changing color. And wherefore I pray? I cannot inform you, but you will be duly acquainted with the reasons that have rendered such a step necessary as a preliminary examination.
Very good.
Alright, it's you.
Interesting note, wherefore is old school language for why, as opposed to where. So, like, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? It's not, Juliet isn't asking where Romeo is, she's asking why are you named Romeo.
Yeah, good one though.
Yeah. Monsieur Morel felt that further resistance or remonstrance was useless. He saw before him an officer delegated to enforce the law, and perfectly well knew that it would be as unavailing to seek pity from a magistrate decked with his official scarf as to address a petition to some cold marble effigy. That's some serious scarf. It's like when this guy's got his business scarf on, you do not mess with him.
It's definitely a raptor.
You do not joke around.
It's like the thick.
This is like a really big scarf.
Yeah.
Old Dantes, however, sprang forward. Oh no, old man, don't get killed. There are situations which the heart of a father or a mother cannot be made to understand. He prayed and supplicated in terms so moving that even the officer was touched. I noticed that Alexandre Dumas did not write this amazing, like, moving speech. I'm not going to improvise one, but he didn't write one. You just have to imagine that he gave a really moving speech. And although firm in his duty, he kindly said, "My worthy friend, let me beg of you to calm your apprehension. Your son has probably neglected some prescribed form or attention in registering his cargo. It's probably some minor paperwork problem, but I am going to arrest him on his wedding day. And it is more than probable he will be set at liberty directly. He has given the information required, whether touching the health of his crew or the value of his freight." It's like, man, couldn't you have waited until, like, after... "What is the meaning of all this?" inquired Caderousse, frowningly, of Danglars, who had assumed an air of utter surprise. Whoa, what an unexpected complication! Where I'm just gonna get a sense of where we are. Man. This is a long chapter. We might have to break this up into. Do
you want to take a break?
We might have to take a break. Maybe let's reach the bottom of here. And then we'll take a break.
Sounds good.
What is the meaning of all this? Inquired Caderousse frowningly of Danglars, who had assumed an air of utter surprise. And I don't know who this is.
It's gonna be Fernand because the hat.
Oh yeah, Fernand the hat. He's just booking it.
He's creeping away.
He's just making a getaway. "How can I tell you?" replied he. "I am, like yourself, utterly bewildered at all that is going on and cannot in the least make out what it is about." Caderousse then looked around for Fernand, but he had disappeared, totally booking it. The scene of the previous night now came back to his mind with startling clearness. The painful catastrophe he had just witnessed appeared effectually to have rent away the veil which the intoxication of the evening before had raised between himself and his memory. So, said he in a hoarse and choking voice to Danglars. "So, this, then, I suppose, is a part of the trick you were concerning yesterday. All I can say is, that if it be so, 'tis an ill turn, excuse me, and well deserves to bring double evil on those who have projected it." "Nonsense," returned Danglars. "I tell you again, I have nothing whatever to do with it. Besides, you know very well that I tore that paper to pieces." Why don't you take it from here?
No, you did not, answered Caderousse. "You merely threw it by. I saw it lying in a corner." "Hold your tongue, you fool. What should you know about it? Why, you were drunk." "Where is I lost it. "Where is Fernand?" inquired Caderousse. "How do I know?" replied Danglars. "Gone, as every prudent man ought to be, to look after his own affairs, most likely. Never mind where he is. Let you and I go and see what is to be done for our poor friends." During this conversation, Dantes, after having exchanged a cheerful shake of the hand with all his sympathizing friends, it's like the wedding, when they all line up.
Yeah, it's like the receiving line, but the opposite.
Yeah.
Farewell line. "Sorry you're going to jail, bro."
Yeah. Dantes had surrendered himself to the officer sent to arrest him, merely saying, "Make yourselves quite easy, my good fellows. There is some little mistake to clear up, that's all, depend upon it. And very likely I may not have to go so far as a prison to effect that."
Famous last words.
Bum, bum, bum.
Here's the magistrate with that fancy scarf. Look how this scarf is arranged. I think it's going around his neck and then around his middle. Like, I think it's a very sophisticated
really
scarf.
elaborate.
It's like a full body, like mummification.
So it's not an Abaka scarf, it's an OG and an OB
Yeah.
scarf is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like you could probably weave her wedding dress out of this scarf.
Yeah.
There's enough material here for one or two of these dresses.
It's like a scarf, cummerbund,
Combo.
two in one, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, what a dramatic moment. This looks like the maid of honor going like, "My word.
My goodness.
My goodness. The interruption." All right, well, why don't we take a small break and figure out what we're doing next. We're going to take a break and we'll be back in a couple moments. We'll be back in a couple moments.